Let's go live. What's up, LukaNation? We just went live here on YouTube. I think some people are going to join in here at the conclusion of the Portugal-Belgium game. I love this, Cage. It's elimination round in the Euros, so it was really fun. And the Czech Republic, they upset Netherlands. Belgium just beat Portugal. We got some really exciting games. And Cage, I think you're going to really enjoy today's episode of Coffee with Cage. There were some really good questions. People didn't pull any punches.
Well, that's good. I can't wait because, guys, I mean, maybe you don't know. I do not look. Like, I've been in the pool. I don't know if you can tell I got a little color here. I just came in, put a little stuff in the hair, so I look presentable for the old YouTube fam out there. But I don't read the questions. I try to be as off the cuff, as they like to say. And sometimes you guys surprise me with the stuff. And, I don't know exactly what to say, which makes for some fun stuff, I guess,
Two pieces of something I have to say. First off, I've gotten a lot of DMs this last week. I've been traveling, guys. I apologize for not being able to respond to all of them. I will. I might even buy Wi-Fi on the plane, feeling badass, and get through all these messages. We're getting a ton. Quick update on our PSA submission. November, December subs are in grading. Is that right, Kate?
The 20 days are both in grading, the 20-day subs. Everything else is still in research and ID. Everything else. That's from November, 45 days, all the way up until the last sub we did, like February. So research and ID, lots of stuff. And I will, just so that we have the whole, like a color on it. I have 4 subs of my own that are still left that we did all before our group subs even got started. So I was subbing every month before our group subs. I still have 4 of them. 2 of them are still in research and ID. One of them is in assembly, but that was one I sent in July. And then they popped this other one. It's like a 30 card Pokemon one that they received also, in October. That one just hit grading
Jungle Pikachus.
Yes, yeah, the Pikachu. It's loaded with Pikachu for no reason. I'll lose money on those, even if they come back 10s now.
Has that happened before?
What? Losing money when something comes back at 10? Not for me, no. And I'm only kidding. Even if it comes back at 10, I would do fine. Come back at 9, it's a different story. But yeah, that's definitely happened. I mean, imagine buying, raw Mbappe's, when they were at the peak, or raw Giannis when they were at the peak, and now you're getting them back as 9s, and they sell for, less than what you paid raw. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who have that situation.
Yam said he has an express mailed on February 28th, still in grading. Let's get into the show so we keep it to an hour, respect people's times. Yep. Drake's PC asks, thoughts on buying cards of a player that are produced after he retires?
So I've done this in some instances. I would typically stay away from it unless you found like an arbitrage example, a cool set. Like, the best example that comes to my mind is like the 2012 Prism, right? Because Prism has cards of people who have, retired already and retired a while ago, right? So, there are there's a Dominique Wilkins cards in there. There's Hakeem Olajuwon cards in the 2012 Prism set. I've graded those. I definitely have graded those cards. The 2012 Prism Baseball, Ken Griffey Jr. He wasn't playing in 2012 anymore. that card came out after he retired. And when you were able to buy those cards for $1, $2, $3, and then grade them and sell them, for a lot more, that is, that's a decent example. Autos, I will tell you, could also be a cool play, right? Like who wouldn't want to get, there's a cool combo auto of Mickey Mantle and Ken Griffey Jr. Obviously, that Mantle card came out well after Mantle stopped playing. You know what I mean? So there are definitely examples, where it makes sense. But I'll tell you, for the most part, I steer clear of it. That said, I'm sure, Andrew, I think you could probably come up with a bunch of examples of the right. So, I mean, like, there have been Kobe cards, right up through Prism, basically, And I'm actually a little surprised there haven't been more Kobe, like maybe some Kobe tribute kind of cards. Maybe it take a little while, let the dust settle. And, then there'll be some cool Kobe tribute cards that come out. There are plenty of awesome Kobe cards in all releases that came out well after he retired,
Mm-hmm.
the last couple of years. And those all do well also. I'm sure there'll still be some LeBron cards that come out after he retired and the like. But those are all exceptions to the rule. The general rule on that is I would kind of steer clear.
Have you seen, Cage, the 1952 Topps release that was like in 2005? Have you ever seen that release?
Yeah.
If not, I'll pull it up on eBay.
Yeah, I mean they do releases like that often. The first one that I remember as a kid, I think it was in 1992 maybe or 1991. They did an archive set of 53 Topps, right? And then in the 90s,
I'm pulling it up on the screen.
They also did like a 52 Topps like refractor version, and yeah, I mean that's a cool card. My favorite one of those is actually a Chris Paul rookie, right? Maybe
I'll pull it up, but this is kind of timely. Look at this.
That's a cool card.
Guys, snag this. So this is $59. Check this out, Kid. Blue. Who just hired Jason Kidd, Cage?
The Mavericks, right? Which I picked, but I would
Jersey match.
But I'd buy him. I'd buy a Mavericks. I mean, he played for the Mavericks, right?
Chris Paul. He did. He won a championship with the Mavs.
So,
Cage, this is a sick card. So you like the Chris Paul Topps from 1952 rookie?
Yeah, that's a cool. I think I saw one of them while searching recently for cool Chris Paul ones. Look at that. I mean, that's a cool looking card.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, look, the 52 Topps is, it's one of those cool things that they, that stays relevant throughout the hobby. But, that's different. You're talking about buying a style of card that has kind of like already has its day. Buying cards of people who are retired, usually not that. I mean, like, there's not a huge amount of people buying the George Mikan prison cards, that are in the prison set. They're black and white, Bill Russell. I actually have one of those in at PSA. I got, opened a pack. I think it was a retail pack. I got one of those green Pulsar of Bill Russell at a 25. We sent it to PSA. It's in nice shape. We'll see when it comes back sometime in 2026. I'll let you guys know how I did.
I think you're gonna like this next question.
All right.
I want to give a shout out to this guy, Ryan Bitter. He's in a few of our groups. And Cage, I don't know if you've noticed, he does a lot of community management. He asks a lot of good questions. He keeps the conversation engaged because, guys, there's just two of us, and we've got like 20, 30 groups now, and people are engaged and people are talking. It means the world when the community kind of starts to police itself. So Ryan, you've taken initiative. I'm really, really grateful for that. I want you to know. He asks, GaryVee predicted sports cards as competing with fantasy sports similar to DraftKings. Have we seen this take to be incorrect, and instead it led to a junk slap era, or do you agree with this take?
Right. That's a great question. I love Ryan. Ryan, by the way, I try to make little jokes, and Ryan catches every one of them. And he calls me out on every single one of them.
Guys, that's the key to Cage's heart. If you know all his movie quotes.
Even on today's Coffee with Cage post, there's a little nugget in there, and Ryan called me out on it in one of the groups. So good job, Ryan. So
guys, by the way, we're interviewing for HGA's Q tomorrow the guys from The Sandlot. So I imagine Cage is going to have one-liners and movie quotes. He's getting them ready. He's taking notes today.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
That's it. Listen, I'm going to meet up with those guys at some point in time. You and I will play catch with them. I'll bring my Babe Ruth signed ball, and we'll throw the Babe Ruth ball. It'll be just like the Sandlot.
We got to bring Ian. We got to bring Ian.
Ian's watched that. There was a Sandlot 2? Not so good. Don't watch it if you haven't. Waste of time. It's kind of like watching Godfather 3. So to answer this question, here's the fun. I like the comparison, right? And we've made it ourselves between the hobby, card collecting, and fantasy sports and or sports betting. And the reason why it was a good comparison by GaryVee, by Andrew, by anybody who's made that comparison is, these are things that were sort of taboo. These are things that were like, you wouldn't have them as water cooler talk. Like if you were placing a bet on a game or you were at fantasy, you were like that nerd who did that fantasy draft and everybody made a joke about it. But now that is like everyone does fantasy sports. Literally, it's like huge. It's advertised in every game. DraftKings is everywhere, FanDuel, you name it, the whole 9 yards. Same thing with sports betting. Sports betting is now like basically legal almost everywhere. And you can, it's not just Super Bowl box pools you talk about in the office anymore. I mean, you can go on Twitter. It's like, okay, here's who bet this. Here's 62% of people are on the Suns. Blah, blah. That's like, it is standard fare. Here's where it misses, right? I love that. I still think that cards themselves are going to move from that darker territory, that taboo territory, to it's a legitimate asset class. I think that's probably what Gary meant, and I know that's what Andrew means. But the difference is um, there's no asset in fantasy sports. There's no asset in gambling, right? You're just making a wager one way or another. And that's a part of sports, right? That's a part of sports card collecting, right? But that comparison, it was easy to make when the trajectory of cards was moving up, because the betting side of it was picking the right player, picking the right card, you name it, right? But the difference is sports betting as a whole doesn't move up or down in value like a sports card market or a sports cards as an asset class does. So that's the biggest difference that I would have with this, right? And it's the reason why people would say that it's an incorrect thing now, right? Because the whole market's going down. You could be betting correctly on the right player. You know, you could have called Trae Young at the beginning of the season, but still be losing money. If you bet Trae Young as someone who's going to the playoffs, or someone who was going to have a good season, or someone who was going to, go to the Eastern Conference Finals, you would have made money betting, right? But that was the difference, right? Everybody's drawing that like pick the right player, pick the right card comparison. But sports books as a whole don't drop in value. I mean, they do if you're talking about like MGM and that kind of stuff, but you know what I mean, right? So that's the difference. I still think we're going to head in that direction. I still think we're going to have that it's more mainstream type of comparison, 100%.
All right. This is a cool one. This is actually, it goes against everything you love. This is a question about kaboom inserts, downtown inserts. So, Cage, are you strictly rookie cards, or do you ever look at like case hits, SSP, super short print cards to hold value long term? And what is the reasoning?
So I saw a great post about this today. Right? Great post about this today. It's our boy Lameme James. And it was a Jimmy Butler meme. And it was Jimmy Butler in his Heat uniform, all jacked up, he had the guns showing, and on the right side it was not Jimmy Butler, with a Miami Heat uniform, not looking with the guns showing, right? And over the heads it was over Jimmy Butler, 90s inserts. And on the other dude, who was clearly not Jimmy Butler, today's inserts, right? So I love that because that's me, right? So the short answer is the majority of my collection is rookies. Yes, 100%. Like I have Jordan rookie, a Montana rookie, a Jerry Rice rookie. If I'm collecting, the first thing I look for are rookies. However, right, Ken Griffey Jr. rookie. However, I do look at case hits or SSPs, but they're not quote unquote case hits and SSPs. The difficulty with today's inserts, right, is everybody pulls one and immediately goes to graded. So there's no scarcity in the condition. Everything is the shiny, fun stuff, right? So you pull a stained glass or a color burst or whatever it may be, everybody's sending those into PSA, and almost all of them are going to be PSA 10s, right? And they're all in pretty good shape, right? You just are. The inserts that I collect, I try to do like Griffey Jr. inserts. I try to do, inserts of Michael Jordan. I do stuff like that. And people didn't grade those in the 90s, right? People didn't send them in for grading, and not a lot of them survived in good shape. And even worse, many of those inserts, you're talking about like precious metal gems, right? I mean, those came out of the packs as 7s, You're talking about foil heavy cards that had chipping on them and stuff, right? Like what I picked up this month, right? The Jordan Scoring Kings, right? My favorite, I always say one of my favorite, it might be my favorite insert of all time. That's not a rookie. I mean, that was Jordan's, 8th, 9th year in the league, So, and I do collect those. I bought a Kobe, the Apparitions Refractor, that's numbered, right? I love numbered inserts. Kaboom, downtown, those type of things, color bursts, they may become the next version of that. They may. What's tricky to me is, especially something like Kaboom, it's varied on what release it's in. It's varied on production numbers, right? They're not numbered per se. And it just seems like there's a lot of them out there to me for them to be like, quote unquote, case hits or short prints. Like I've seen too many of them. And the difference also is when people find a Kaboom now, it's immediately, let's hold it, let's hermetically seal it. Let's take it and put it in a PSA slab. Like, the additional level of scarcity is not going to be there. Everybody's already, running those up. Some of like the other inserts, the ones that I collect, they were not hugely sought after things. Like, Michael Jordan Scoring Kings, I pulled several of those out of packs myself. I'm sure I didn't pull a 10. I probably never even pulled an 8 or a 9, but I pulled several of those out. They're not exactly rare cards. It's the scarcity of the condition that makes them rare. And by the way, I also happen to think that is a good thing, right? People like me had that card. People like me who collected know that card. There are enough of them out there that people are like, oh, wow, I know that card. I had that card. But
there's something about when you wanted a card as a child and then you grow up and you finally have the money. It's like you want a Ferrari when you're a kid and you finally have the money. You just want it. You're like, this is a goal accomplished.
Right. And you want it in the best condition possible. That's my take, right? Whereas the Kabooms, right? There's not a lot of them out there, right? Where most people don't. I don't know that I've ever pulled a Kaboom myself. I got color.
Would have probably thrown it away.
Yeah, I would have thrown it. No, I would have sold it immediately. Ian says we pulled a Kaboom. I don't remember. Shows you how much I love Kabooms.
All right, you're gonna like this one, okay? This is back to your college days, Cage. This guy was a savage. Don't ask him about his Puerto Rican girlfriend. Just kidding.
Who's got a Puerto Rican Cards to the max as a Puerto Rican girlfriend? Nice. If you were back in college right now and could choose one modern card to stash away for your kids one day, what card would it be and why? Wow. All right, so I was in college in the 90s. Max.
You sure?
Max is this is a Yukon Siget brother, if memory serves me right here. Cards to the max, and and
a fit LukaNation Fit Fam leader.
LukaNation leaderboard. Oh yeah. Well, listen, I was not fit in college either. So I'd like to say if I was in college, I'd be fit. I wasn't fit then either. I was the opposite of fit. But let's see. So we're talking about mid 90s. I mean, honestly, what's funny about it is anybody who's coming up in the last year or so in the hobby and has just gotten into this and is down a little bit, I want to say something to you. I want to say something that I want you to listen to. Most of the people who have the bankroll, most of the people who are flexing big cards now, they're lucky. Now, they won't tell you they're lucky. They'll tell you they're geniuses. But they're lucky because they started collecting when I was in college. So this is a great question. Those are people who loved Kobe as kids. Maybe they were in high school when Kobe was playing, or maybe they were even younger and they were in high school and collecting, as Kobe progressed. But when I was in college and I wasn't collecting cards, right in the middle of my college was when Kobe was a rookie, and that 1996 class came out. And I did not buy any of that. Like, I wish I was opening wax then. Take a look at that class, that draft class, right? I mean, Steve Nash is like low, might not even make the top 5 of that draft class. You know what I mean, right? So you're talking about like just a huge, huge draft class. But modern cards to stash away, that Kobe stuff. I was already out working when LeBron came, so I won't use LeBron. But Kobe's rookie year was right smack dab when I was in college. And why I say, don't beat yourself up that you look at these people who are out there that have all this, these stacks, these great cards. They fall usually into a couple of classes. Kobe guys and LeBron guys that they were collecting and happen to be collecting when those guys came out, and now more recently, Giannis guys.
You got to give him credit for patience, right? Like, sure, there's a bit of good fortune, but I think we misunderstand luck. Like, luck follows the prepared type of thing. So like patience, it's important.
Well, you like to say you create your own luck, and there's definitely something to be said for that. But I guess what I'm saying is, I happen to be collecting. My basement is full of Drew Bledsoe and late 80s, early 90s stuff, which is all worth nothing. If I were collecting 10 years later,
it was just, you're saying the serendipity of timing.
Yeah. I mean, that is the luck portion of it, right? If I happen to be 10 years younger, I would have a ton of Kobe stuff. Now, you're right. I might have sold it all. Maybe I would have sold it to go to college. And maybe I would have sold it to buy myself a car or whatever the heck it was. And these people didn't. So I get that. But I guess what I'm saying, the 2013 Kabooms are hideous, brother. They are hideous.
You don't like the cartoon? You don't like the cartoon?
Yeah, I like it. I like it for exactly the reason that Yam is saying it. And if I were going to go out and buy stained glass or Kaboom, Yam is 100% right. Very smart. Those were rarer. But what were they in? I forget what Panini, what release were they even in? I don't even know. It's something weird that I don't even think they have now. eminent.
Can you read the comment for our,
Yeah, so
listeners?
Yam asked 2012 stained glass or 2013 Kaboom aren't that way though. First year of sets, truly low pops, and he's right. What he's talking about is that the Kabooms have caught on now, the stained glasses have caught on now, and there's more of them. I opened one box of Prism football last year. I got a stained glass. It was Michael Thomas, but it is what it is. So when they first came out, 2012 and 2013, they were low pops, but mostly because nobody was buying that crap. You know what I mean? In 2012 and 2013, you didn't have the people buying now, so the product itself was less, right? But those 2013 Kabooms, you got to be a fan of like weird, like comic art. You got to be a fan of like Space Jam and stuff like that to really like those. I happen to like them because of the guys who were in them, but they're kind of Really cartoonish. But you're right, though. If you're gonna buy them, I would stick with those.
There's two really good questions, Cage. These are going to be tough. These are they're going to test your, what is it called? What's that word?
Test your metal. Test
your metal. There it is. Cunningham Kev, can you talk about BVG and the way those cards were graded? I recently came into a 1954 Topps Jackie Robinson BVG 6.5. Kind of amazing card. And I'm curious about the way that would cross the PSA, BGS. Thoughts on that, Cage?
All right, so Cunningham Kev, you're not going to like my answer because I speak from some experience with this stuff. I would not buy a BVG card. BVG cards sell for significantly less in their grade. I once owned a BVG 4.5 Mickey Mantle 1952 Topps that previously was in an SGC Authentic holder and a PSA 2 holder before it. So the question of like how would it cross over? I'm sure there are generalizations. We do it all the time. BGS 9.5s. If it's quad 9s with a couple of 10s, you got a better chance of crossing over to a PSA 10 than if it's got 9 subgrades and blah blah blah. We make those generalizations all the time. For vintage cards, I just don't think Beckett has ever done a very good job. It's why you don't see that many high-end cards in BVG. You may have
some context on BVG who might not know. For example, I didn't even know it was Beckett.
So Beckett Vintage Grading is what BVG stands for, right? So BGS, Beckett Grading Service, is modern cards. Beckett Vintage Grading is what you would get on a vintage card from Beckett. And like I said, you don't see too many of them because people usually don't grade their vintage cards with Beckett. Now, don't get me wrong, Kev. Your card may be great. There was a time where people were just grading with Beckett. I'm talking about a decade ago. I graded with Beckett myself. Bryce Harper and Steven Strasburg and those guys came out, and when basketball was huge, LeBron, Durant. That's why you see a lot of the RPAs, have a Beckett grade on them with an auto grade, you name it. And at that time, when people were sending in cards to Beckett, they sent in cards also some vintage. So you may very well have a good one. My experience over the last couple of decades is that people will send a vintage card like yours, 54 Topps Jackie Robinson, to Beckett when they've either gotten a really low grade from SGC and or PSA, or more likely they got some sort of a qualifier from PSA, like tampering with the card, trimming of the card, if somebody has messed with the card. In my experience, a lot of BVG cards were ones that PSA passed on slabbing. And I hope that's not the case for yours.
So you're saying 99% of the time, BVG is not going to be the first option for vintage. It's already been subbed somewhere else.
Correct.
Cool. Yamax says 2013
Panini Innovation.
That's Innovation.
Yep. Yeah.
Anthony, I'll answer your question in just a second. Cage, we got two StarStock questions. Are you ready for them? Because they're not going to be easy.
Sure. Shoot.
All right, guys. And remember, we're partners with StarStock, but we're going to have Scott on later in the week. So maybe we'll use some of these questions for Scott as well. Why can't I find it here? I'm going to ask you this one, and then I'm going to find it. So
Panini Innovation. I like it.
Yeah, Bless and Breaks asks, any concern that with StarStock now doing breaks, they will show favoritism to those who participate in breaks and cards? From those breaks will grade an A. StarStock grading is harder than PSA. Real quick, just touch on that. I think what they're going to do, Cage will touch on the favoritism. If you're going to join a break with them, I think in 24 hours, they're able to grade and vault that card for you. I'm not sure if that's right. We're going to have Scott on, but that's something I read online.
Bless and Breaks. Join some of our groups, right? So get into a LukaNation group. Let's get you in there, because obviously you're a straight shooter and you have legitimate concerns and legitimate thoughts in the hobby. And you're ready for this. For everybody watching on YouTube and listening to this, Bless and Breaks wants to know if I have any concern with StarStock now doing breaks. They will show favoritism to those who participate in breaks, and cards from those breaks will all grade an A. StarStock grading is harder than PSA. So here's my answer, my short answer. Yes. My short answer is yes. And I know we are partners with StarStock, and I know that we have a StarStock weekly episode. I do have concern, not that all their cards will grade an A, but I do have concern with StarStock doing breaks. And I will go one step further. It's a concern that I have already raised with my partner, Andrew, and it's a concern that I will address with Scott. And the third part of that, this way this doesn't get clipped so crazy, is I'm sure Scott and the StarStock team excuse me, is also concerned about it. And they're also going to go out of their way to make sure you know that this is not being done. I'm sure they are going to make sure that they are as transparent as can be with their grading process. I'm sure that they are going to, show you the grading, do the grading. We've spoke to Scott about the breaks, and I believe that when they're doing breaks, they may have somebody sitting right there grading the cards and showing what they are, right? So think about that, Bless and Breaks. If there's a card that shouldn't get an A, right, and everyone's seeing it, everybody's looking at it, you're in the group, you're in the chat, and the thing is off-centered 70-30, and it comes back as an A, people are going to go nuts. Cardpoint's going to be all over that. The world's going to be all over it. People are going to be screenshotting it and posting it. And, this is something that StarStock plans to do for the foreseeable future. This is not, we're going to be breaking cards for a week, and somehow take the money all retire to a deserted island, right? That's not their brand. That's not the way those guys are. So it behooves them to be aware of that concern that you've raised and make sure that they are completely above board and transparent with their grading. And so while I also have that same concern, I believe you're going to see that they are, they'll handle it the right way, and they're not going to show any favoritism to anybody during those breaks, other than possibly anybody who buys a break or a spot in a break and wants their card graded and put right in. They'll move to the front of the line because that stuff can be graded right there in the break. I think that'll be part of the sales point of those breaks. You know what I mean? If you're breaking with them and they have a grader sitting right there during the break, boom, your stuff gets put right in the vault right then and there. That makes sense to me. That,
If we could just go a little positive, just something I thought of that's positive is when you break a card and you ship it, there's a chance that it could get damaged.
Yeah.
Here you have a grader, someone who knows how to handle cards right there. There's a little bit of that too. I think that's important.
Yeah, it's a little less logistics involved. You don't have to ship it in. You don't have to wait for them to intake it. It's right there. It's done. Listen, I think there's a lot of cool things that can be done with this, right? They put it, it's in your vault, and someone in the room just go right and buy it. All right, it's in, good, go buy it. You know what I mean? It's there, it's finished, it's moved into somebody else's vault right then and there during the middle of the break. A lot of cool stuff they can do with the breaks, with having the vault right there bolted on and attached to it, having their cards in their StarStock accounts. So, Bless and Breaks, it's a valid question, and if you're expecting me to say no, if you're expecting me to gloss over it and not answer the question the way I did, you'd never listened to us before. So, if nothing else, we're honest with our crew.
Cage, you said thanks, Cage, for being real. Where do I join the groups? So I'm gonna put the link here in the chat on YouTube, but it's you just follow our podcast page, Luka Tiger LeBron Podcast, and just shoot us a DM, and we'll add you to one of the groups. And if you have an idea, let's say a group that we haven't started, feel free to shoot us a DM. We haven't gotten any Formula One group DMs yet, but I'm fingers crossed that we will.
Listen, I'm surprised I haven't got any questions yet from, oh, wait, there's a question coming in. The Card Talk guys, why have you not invested in Tour de France cards yet? Is that what that says?
That's not a horrible idea.
Would you pumping the bicycle? Or you bicycle pump? Or we get a bicycle pump? Lamine James, where are you, man? I got a great idea. So bless him. Send us a message and we'll be right in there, man. We'll get you in a group. And yes, if you have an idea for a group and you want to chat, if you happen to, like a certain type of card or whatever it is, let's do it. That's how we got our footy group, right? That's how we.
That's exactly right.
So,
all right, we're gonna come back to a StarStock question later. But Dennis Patrick Zender, he wants to ask about grading. Is 2025? What's the grading landscape look like? Is PSA still king? BGS or HGC? Did they close the gap? And then he asked a second question, which I think is really the one Cage is going to answer. He's talked a lot about grading recently. Will Cage have a soda dispenser in his kitchen?
People have tried to get me that soda stream, actually. One of those like make your own soda kind of things, right? But so it's 2025. Grading landscape look like? Is PSA still king? 2025 is a far off thing. And remember, if we go back far enough, BGS was the leader in the space. PSA's only been the leader for a couple years. And while you didn't mention them, our partner, our sponsor, HGA, has upped their weekly numbers to 15,000. They're taking 15,000 cards in per week, which I don't know, besides PSA, if the other guys are doing that. I don't know. None of them really publicize the numbers that are going in there. But HGA doesn't really look like they're slowing down. And I think there may come a time in the next 6 months, a year, where HGA has the bandwidth to do as many, if not more, cards per week than PSA is doing. So we'll see what happens there. And BGS and SGC may follow suit also. You know what I mean? Everybody's bulking up. You know what I mean? And they're bulking up and they're staffing up at a time where I think demand is maybe coming down a little bit too. So what does it look like? It really depends. I think one of these guys might change the game and add something into it. You know what I mean? When I love BGS Black Label, I don't think they really do enough to kind of differentiate the pricing difference you get from that gold, the pristine 10 and the black, the Black Label 10s. Who knows what somebody else may come out with, to kind of switch that up. I love the custom slabs. I love, the artwork in the slabs. Kind of match the card stuff. If, however, DPZ asks legit questions, and I don't like to beat around the bush too much. If, however, nothing changes, if none of these guys, ramp up production, PSA is the king. Everybody's chasing PSA. PSA is Coca-Cola. Everybody else is chasing them. I think right now, the biggest threat to PSA is PSA themselves. And I've said that since last year, right? PSA is the biggest threat to themselves and the biggest threat to the hobby, as we have seen. They're closed and the hobby went like this. And go back to my, I've had so many of these things where we talked about that, how I thought PSA could cut the legs right out from under the hobby, and I still believe that that's exactly what happened. So the soda dispenser. If I am ever rich enough, DPZ, this is the answer for me. This is the dream. This is for me to be rich, right? Like, because I will never get this unless like somehow I won the lottery, whatever it is. Have you ever been to a restaurant? I think Burger King's have them and stuff like that has what's called a freestyle machine. Movie theaters have them. Coke Freestyle, right? Where, you got to buy like 9,000 flavors. They hook up all this stuff, right? But you push a button, you put your glass in, and you push a button, rather Coke, Diet Coke, Coke Zero, Mr. Pibb. That's like Dr. Pepper, sort of, but it's like Coke version. And you could put little flavor bursts in it. So you can get like a Coke Zero raspberry. There you go. Freestyle.
This is Cage's dream right here, guys.
So that I would love one of those, because it's not just getting that. You got to get somebody to like come to your house and refresh it every month, put in the flavors. But dude, I've been to movies. People sit down and movie with me, and I get a soda, and like, what kind of soda you get? I just call it like a Frankenstein soda, because I get a Coke Zero, a little like lime, little raspberry, little cherry, just a little like it's like a fruit salad Coke Zero, And
Cage never lost his youth,
No.
I love it. This is a good question. I want to point you to Anthony's question. So
sure.
let me find it here. Anthony Martorano asks, I know I'm a bit late to live, so apologies if we've covered this. We have an answer.
By the way, the way this looks for me, I don't know if it shows up like this on YouTube, but this could be very scary. So I'm going to read what I see. All right,
it's a two-part question.
It says, I know I'm a bit late to the live, so apologies if we've covered this, but what are both of your guys' take on Gary's Little? Gary's Little what? I mean, like, I don't know where you could have clipped that somewhere else for me. Gary's Little what? I mean, I don't know if I really want to give thoughts on Gary's Little anything. No? Gary's Little snippet video. Okay. Gary's Little snippet video about Cards International. Okay, well, that is much cleaner, Anthony. It's much better. Gary's little, I don't know.
I asked him to elaborate a little bit. So talking about the National, how he's going to be there, spend an incredible amount of money on the Jordan PSA 10, high on LeBron, that the market is stabilizing. Is now a perfect time to buy. How do you think his words will affect the current state we are in? I think without his words, the hobby is going to pick back up by football. Does his future content potentially push that further? Cage, what do you think? I just want to add one little thing.
Go.
PSA 10 Jordan sold last night for $270,000.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that had any effect, but take it away, my friend.
There's another one selling tonight. I mean, Golden just gets the best prices because everybody's looking for Golden now. You know, there are people in the hobby that don't even look anywhere other than the Golden auction. So it's pretty interesting. All the other things where it's that's a new low. It's never Golden. That's one interesting part. I lost everything last night. I bid on like 11 things in Golden auction last night. I didn't win a single one. And I was trying to remain patient. I was trying to remain disciplined. And almost everything I lost, I was the second highest bidder on. Like I put a bid in the extra and somebody beat me on it. I lost almost all of them by 1,000, 1,000 on the bid. And we're talking about like I was bidding on a couple of Babe Ruth cards. I was bidding on quite a few cards last night, mostly vintage.
That seems suspect, doesn't it?
Maybe. I mean, the whole thing is suspect. It seems like every time you put a max bid in and win, it's always winning on your max bid. And there's a lot of like lack of transparency in this stuff. Like I find myself, if I bid $18,000 and put a maximum bid of 19, no matter what, that 19 bid is always hit. And I always find myself sitting there saying, "Come on, did that really happen? Those guys just bit my bid just because."
Yeah, like who bid $18,999?
So back to the question, right? Gary's an influencer, right? And one of the best influencers out there. And there are influencers who make music. There are influencers who, make videos. He's an influencer who moves markets, whether that's his intention or not. He told people to go out there and buy Ethereum, and the thing went from 1,800 to 4,000. Now, I'm not going to say that was him. I don't know whether he has the power to move it that much, but his V friends, it coincided with a huge swing in the Ethereum market. Gary said to people to buy Giannis, and Giannis flew. Gary told people to buy LeBron's, and LeBron's flew. Gary telling people to buy Michael Jordan or that he's going to buy a Michael Jordan PSA 10, that to me doesn't really mean there's a lot of, needle moving there because there's only a small segment of the market that's actually going to be in the market for that. It's very different than buying a $300 Giannis Prism PSA 10 or buying a Mookie Betts card that he holds up that's $125. I think it's a way for him to sort of stabilize the market, and he's doing a lot of that now, and he wasn't doing it before. Somebody sent me a screenshot of his Discord for V-Friends, where he basically was sort of like, doing his Braveheart at the Battle of Sterling, I think it was. Or it's hold, hold, the whole, hold, Ethereum's going down, so you hold, right? So it's one of those kind of, hey guys, there's great stuff coming in with the IP, intellectual property, but make sure you guys, I know our V-Friends have been a little quiet, but, just hold. Are we
talking V-Friends or sports cards here?
Well, but I'm saying he did the same thing there in the same week as now his video talking about he's going to be at the National and doing all this stuff. To me, it feels like he's propping things up, or at least trying to prop things up. And, where that comes from to me is I'm betting that Gary has a lot of people invested in these things. People who listened to him and bought V-Friends, people who listened to him and bought cards, people who listened to him and bought LeBron rookie cards. And might not have been smart enough or wanting to get out of it at $30,000 and are now sitting there with them at 10 still when they were 10 before or 12 or whatever it is now. Maybe that's what they bought in at. And him coming out and saying that, it has the exact impact that the question, just the fact that it's being asked, it means people are looking at it and saying, all right, it's going to turn around. It's going to turn around. We know there's a flaw there. It's kind of like when you invest in stock and you want to believe that the stock can't go below this amount because there's institutional money creating a wall of support at that level. That's Gary.
Yep.
He's perceived as that institutional money creating a floor on LeBron cards at $10,000 or at 10.5 or 11. Oh, GaryVee impression. Is that the one with the garbage? Is that the one where he's like picking through the garbage? I think maybe. So he says there's a good Brent Pella on Instagram did a good GaryVee impression. Very good. Listen, the best GaryVee impression I've ever seen is done by Andrew when I did my my Vegas cage, and we did a little skit there. If you guys are late to the LukaNation party, find
When
that.
was that? Was that October? Was that last year?
I don't remember what that was. It was fun though. I had my white chair and everything.
No, I think it was January. January. All right. A little question about card porn. This is a good one. Card porn. Hobby police or hobby Karen?
Oh man, wouldn't they be a hobby? What is it, Bob? Is it a Bob? Is it Bob? Maybe
Hobby Bob. Yes.
My kids called me Bob. I asked for a manager the other day. They're like, "You're Bob. You're Bob." Who asked this? Did card porn ask it themselves?
No, card porn didn't ask it.
Let's see. Well, hobby police or hobby Karen? Go ahead.
Ryan Bitter asked it.
Ryan Bitter.
But I think a few of us, we've talked, like, we just wanted to know. Like, it's a good question. I don't think he's the only one that's brought it up.
I'm going to say both. I'm going to say both. I am. I think that, they came out with a lot of good intentions, right? They came out with a lot of good intentions showing cool cards. Like, they showed a break today that had, a Tom Brady 101, inscribed with the 7-time Super Bowl MVP, which is cool. Like that. I like to see that, and it's card porn. That was the point. They were trying to show these hits, trying to show these breakers, trying to, show this good stuff. But they got very big, right? They got a lot of followers, right? 20,000, 25,000, however many followers that they have now. When you have that many followers, just like Gary is a market mover and influencer, they have become sort of an influencer. And they obviously, I mean, it's not me, guys. It's not me, but whoever it is has some real, like, clout, right? They have an in to PWCC. They have an in to Ken Golden. And if they didn't, they've created that in, via whoever they are or via the size of their account or, the fact that they can, cause problems for those people by posting about them, right? So they have been able to get direct links while, that's what I said. It's not me. I promise, Kyle, it's not me. Wink. I will say this, card porn is not just one person. So if everybody was thinking it's just me, that would be inaccurate. Card porn it's not just one person. So, but the point is, I think they serve a good role in those. But Andrew, what's that saying you say from a Spider-Man movie? With great power comes great responsibility, but with great responsibility comes great power. I added that one. So I think for card porn that applies maybe more than most in the hobby space, right? Because they can really do damage. They can really, damage someone's reputation. They can really call somebody out and really put them on blast. And it's one of the things that was always, I don't want to say questionable, it was always scary to me about, like, fraud policing groups. Like the hobby, we're going to out you as frauds, like Facebook groups and whatnot, because what if they're wrong? It kind of doesn't matter. You have that mob mentality. It's like, this guy scammed me. Well, there's always two sides to a story, right? And, maybe it wasn't a scam. Maybe just one guy is now saying it was a scam. I mean? So to me, that's dangerous, and it's the same thing. So card porn, from what I've seen, for the most part, they do their research. They follow up on things. They do check things out before they try to police something. And I know there have been stories that have, been left on card porn's doorstep that they researched turned out to not be true, and they did not run with them. I have, like, personal knowledge of that, even though I'm not card porn, Kyle. So I do know they don't just kind of shoot from the hip, right? A lot of people think they do that. They just kind of, like, throw stuff up on their story and, let it fall where it may. That's not the case. They don't do that. And guys, and I'm curious your take on this too, Cage. You got to remember, like, as you grow, as the hobby grows, these accounts are going to be asked to do different things. What they were doing 6 and 9 months ago may not be what they're doing now. And I think there's a level of schooling and evolution that happens too. You agree? Like, you have to evolve. 100%. As the hobby grows. 100%. Definitely. But, I mean, listen, if they're going to be, can I say this? I don't mind if they're hobby police, as long as they do it the right way. Because the hobby doesn't have police. There is no regulatory body for this, I think what will eventually happen is they may break apart an account, like kind of like scammers of IG, something like that, where there's a special dedicated page to, like, hey guys, watch out for this. Mhm.
And then there might have like a dedicated page where it's like, this is what stuff, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, here's the breaks. Here's the cool breaks that we saw. The more positive side of it. Okay, I can see that.
Guys, a lot of good questions about National. So Ben Carlos, dude, Ben Carlos crushes it with this
That's great.
Yep. Friends with Ben. If you guys haven't checked it out, highly, highly recommended. He had Jay Lee live on the other day. He does it now on Instagram too. He was mainly YouTube, but now he's Instagram. So check that out. A lot of questions about National. I'm telling you, maybe a week ago it was like 50-50 if we're going. I'm saying it's closer to 75, 80% that we're going.
Yeah, I don't know that we will be there for the what amounts to 6 days of the National, right? It's the 28th to the 3rd. But yeah, I mean, the interesting part, Andrew, is that if we're going to be planning to go in the weeks leading up to it, our hotel may be in Milwaukee. So we may be staying downtown, sleeping under the bean in Chicago or something like that. So, but
I have friends in Chicago, Cage. So speak for yourself.
Well, listen, then your friends are going to be my friends, and I'm crashing on a couch. I don't need much space. I'm a little guy.
My friends would take care of you 100%.
I'm a little dude. I just need like a little spot in the corner. Like we'll get a little pillow action. And we're good. I can see us going. I like Andrew would say was probably 50-50 a week or two ago, and I think 70-30 is probably fair now. And Dave, if you want us to go, I'll go. Like that. 100%. That's enough. If Dave says come, then I think we might have to go.
Olympics. So Chronic Collectibles asks, do the Olympics move the needle for any of the NBA guys? Real quick, let me just, guys, so for people listening that might not know the roster, it's Kevin Durant, Dame Lillard, Devin Booker, Jason Tatum, Bradley Beal, Zach LaVine, Kevin Love, Draymond Green, Bam Adebayo, Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, Jeremy Grant.
No. It doesn't move the needle for any of the NBA guys. I love it. I think the Olympics are great. I think winning a gold medal for your country, which is what these guys are going to do, is an impressive thing. But it's almost to a point now where, you could just pencil them in for the gold medal, most likely. If it's somebody on the team who's already cemented their legacy, Kevin Durant is a great example. His price is going to be his prices. Yep. And a gold medal is not really going to do too much for him. If you guys want just to see why, I'm not trying to poo-poo this. I think it's a great thing. I love the Olympics. I love cheering for our country. I love watching, men's basketball is a great one too, because you usually get a glimpse of some European prospects as well while you watch this, right? You usually get a glimpse of the Tony Kukocs of the world, showing my age again, that you can get an early jump on your research on them. So I do love watching that, but it doesn't really take a look, Google our dream teams, right? And guys, for some of those names, they're like borderline great players, right? They're borderline awesome, basketball players, collectible, and people are investing in them. Go Google a guy like Mitch Richmond, right? Who I'm sure 90 people listening to this and watching this haven't even heard of. Go Google that guy's stats. Go pull up a YouTube video of what Mitch Richmond did on the Sacramento Kings and just how smooth the guy was, how great his game was. He was on the Olympic team as well, and is anybody out there buying Mitch Richmond's cards? Richmond today.
I think it's also the expectation thing, right? Like they're expected to win the gold, so it's already baked in. Like it's not like, and I think there's even a little bit of downside if they underperform a lot too, especially if a good player underperforms. But I don't think anyone cares that much about the Olympics from a sports card investing perspective.
That's fair, right? They care about the Olympics, but from adding value to to their cards, it really doesn't do too much.
Okay. Dave's Cards 32 has thoughts on when NFL season hype starts before or after August 1st. I'm going to give you my take. I think it's already started.
Yeah, I agree. I agree entirely. I think check out our last episode of Conrad Uncaged. And this is a kid who knows basketball better than almost anyone I know. It's all about basketball. He's a modern card collector. Knows basketball. And he was basically saying that he thinks what turns the hobby around is the excitement for football season. We've already seen it with our StarStock data, Dave. Starting 2 weeks ago, football started to move up. In their percentages, you're starting to see more football players start to get bought. I see it in my own StarStock account. I'm seeing offers for last year's rookie class, the year before rookie class, the quarterback cards, even in StarStock B that I have in my account. I see people making offers for them now and trying to get, bargains on those cards. So, definitely by August 1st, if not more. I would expect people at the National to be looking for your quarterbacks. I think Justin Herbert cards, Burrow cards, Tua cards, the Trevor Lawrence cards that are out by then. I think you're going to see people stocking up on those football cards, and that's going to probably be the talk of the town.
I think this is a good place to get into this. This is a tough question, Cage. So, guys, no pressure, but this is going to be fun. All you StarStock customers, this is a good question to follow along. Joe Whitting asks, I would like to get started with StarStock. I have $200 to invest and some rookie cards to ship. Mm-hmm. What cards can or should I send, and what strategy should I proceed with?
All right, Joe. It's a good question, right? So first of all, the rookies to ship in, what cards can you send, right? So there's a lot of cards you can send, but you have to be mindful of the fact that if you're not sending slabs, there is an intake fee, right? So previously I would tell you to send every card you had. Send in all your rookies. Send in, if you broke a box of Topps cards, send in every rookie you have. And, you get what you can get for them. At least you have some ability to sell. I sold some cards on StarStock this morning, 10 cents a card. I'm really only getting 5 cents because they're charging you 5 cents. But at least I'm getting it out of my collection. It's somebody I just sent in. I got it out of a pack. I would have thrown it out by now, so I'll take the nickel. You can't do that now. So you should only be looking at cards that are a minimum value, because you're already going to be losing a percentage of your profit and the value in it by that that quarter intake fee per card. That said, you can still send in cards that are a couple of bucks if you think they're undervalued right now. Baseball rookies who you think might turn it on towards the end of the season. You talk about like Joe Adele, those kind of guys that are right now only a buck or two. But what else are you going to do with those? You know what I mean? Not to mention, once you get into a few dollars, the difference between selling it and losing 13% between PayPal and eBay, or just the eBay direct fees, and losing 5% as a seller's fee on StarStock, that's an 8% difference. So you really only have to be talking about a $4 or $5 card for that 8% difference to make up that intake fee on the card. So that's first, just some quick math that you're dealing right there. What cards can you send? It depends what sport you have. It depends what you have. I mean, I would probably be trying to send some football rookies in right now, because I think that's what people are going to start to look for. Baseball rookies of teams that might have their, a playoff. If you happen to have some Tatis sitting around, go ahead and send him in. Obviously, he's probably going to make the playoffs.
Buster Posey, so some Giants.
Yeah, the Giants. I mean, Posey, it's older. A lot of people don't have Buster Posey rookie cards laying around. But yes, if you happen to have like Mike Yastrzemski, from 2 years ago, that's probably a decent one also. But yeah, I mean, I'd start to look for that. If you really want to get ahead of the curve, your basketball rookies from Prism who are decent, and you just put them in your account. If you have $200 to invest and some rookies to ship, what cards can I send? What strategy you use to present? So the strategy, it depends on what you're trying to do with StarStock, right? If you're going to use it in the way we started this episode off of kind of comparing it to like daily fantasy and that kind of stuff, if you're going to use StarStock, it's a good platform to do that. If you wanted to kind of have a fantasy type of sports card investment, if you use it for that, then you should be looking for your dynasty type plays, right? Maybe your undervalued baseball rookies that we've talked about already in this episode, maybe some undervalued basketball guys, maybe some guys who you think are going to move in the off season to another team in basketball that you're going to get now, and you can sell before they even play again. Take a look at the list of the top free agents. We've talked about this all the time, and use that $200 investment potential to try to find somebody who might be on another team next year, whether it's Lonzo Ball or Devontae Graham or whatever it is, who you can pick up real cheap. And the moment that they move, you're able to, just probably double your money on those, cards that were 15, 20 cents that now become 40, 50 cents,
Gage, am I crazy? Sam Darnold for 140?
Yeah.
Yes, am I crazy thinking that's cheap for someone in a new environment? He's got a great coach, an offensive coach, and a lot of weapons.
So you're not crazy. I'd love to know what his, StarStock A sells for, just his regular Prism. Because there are people who would invest in Darnold, the people who would invest in him but won't invest that 140 in him. But if you can get a Prism StarStock A of Darnold for, a percentage of that 140 cheap enough,
80 Cage,
$80. So I mean, that $80 StarStock A maybe it's 100, 150, 125, whatever it may be. If week 1 he throws 3 touchdown passes and no interceptions, it's very possible, especially when you compare that. Yeah.
Do you maybe go PSA 9? So there's something I was seeing in our groups that PSA 9s are actually outpacing PSA 10s in returns.
So it's a great question. What's the PSA 9 of Darnold go for? Because the 80 is a little high. 60. Yeah, I think I would do that. I think I would go with the PSA 9. I love StarStock and their grading and stuff like that, and they're much more, difficult than we ever thought they were going to be in the grades, which means the StarStock A is a legitimate card. But yeah, I mean, for $60, a PSA 9, sure. Honestly, I'm not a huge believer in Darnold, but that team's usually good. If McCaffrey's healthy, you could pencil him in for probably 2 touchdowns a week just to McCaffrey. You know what I mean? So,
but that's what we use StarStock for. Is sure. I'm not a believer in Sam Darnold either, but he's been beaten down so low. His expectations are so low. People remember watching him on the Jets. That even if he has just an average year, I feel like his card's in the year in the 350 range. If he just has an average year,
he's got the weapons. He definitely has the weapons. I'd be curious, but just for comparison, what's a PSA 10, PSA 9, and a StarStock A of Carson Wentz? You know what I mean?
Same type of play.
Same type of play, exactly. So I'd be looking at stuff like that as well. You're not going to get much bang for your buck for your $200 on a Darnold play like that or a Wentz play like that. If you're going to go with a PSA 10, it's going to eat up most of your money. You better really believe in that play if that's the way you're going to go. I would probably stick more with the, try to find 10 baseball guys that are hitters. Maybe research. I mean, we saw Wander Franco come up and hit a home run. Maybe do a little research on who the next 20 guys potentially who can get called up are and hit that. Believer in his hype. It's right. Kyle Brown, you're right.
100%. That's where I'm going. I'm not a believer in Wentz. I'm not a believer in Darnold, but you're exactly right.
Well, StarStock for me, guys, I wouldn't care about the players.
Anthony, real quick, I got to jump in here.
Such a better player.
He said Wentz is such a better player. As an Eagles fan, someone who's watched him get sacked. And Cage, you watch a little bit of Wentz?
Yeah.
He just sits in the pocket and waits to get tackled.
Listen, Darnold didn't do much better than that, and he saw ghosts. So
but his coach is kind of a joke.
But listen here, the point is, at least the point I think you're trying to make. I think the point you're trying to make is that you're buying something with the hype, right? It's exactly what I'm trying to say, right? I'm trying to say, buy somebody who's going to get traded in basketball now, and when they announce the trade, when they announce the new team, he's going to sign with the new team, the free agent, right? When they sign with the new team, the cards will go up. It's just what happens. Like I don't even care. That's all hype. I don't even care about the player. That player may not even play next year. But on the day that new signing, the new contract comes out, boom, sell the card for more than it is now.
Guys, Coffee with Cage is our most listened to episode. So I'm going to keep going here a little bit. I also want to be respectful because we try not to have, hour 20, hour 30 episodes because it's a lot for someone to listen at once. And we do these weekly, so nothing wrong with having your question next week. I'm going to go a little longer. We're right at the hour mark. We're just, maybe 2-3 more questions.
Sure.
Let's talk a little baseball. So KPB Cards asked, Brandon Nemo's injured, but he was one of your plays last month, and he was crushing. How would you approach something like this? So
right now, you have no choice but to hold. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be selling while he's injured. You're going to be selling it most likely at a loss. If you were able to get in on his stuff and cheap enough, and you wanted to cut your loss and just move that money that you're into somebody like that into somebody else, Andrew, it's one of the things he preaches, right? Cutting your losses if they're not going to kill you, and then being able to move that money into something. Then that's your call. I don't know exactly how much you invested, whether you bought, a low number refractor auto or if you just bought a couple base cards. I have purchased a couple of Nemo cards during the injury now, right? So in the last week or so. So that's definitely a
dollar cost average or kind of your price. If you bought at the top, like KPB may have done, or
so that's the other thing. If you believed in him and the injury is the only thing that's taking him down and the Mets are doing good and you believe in him as a future player, you might be able to buy a second one of what you bought. And now your average price on that is significantly less. So
I know someone that does that with Ethereum,
Yeah.
all the way down to
All the way down. He's going to ride it all the way down to zero. It's going to be fun. But he's having fun doing it.
Anthony, I love Anthony Martorano. He sounds like Anthony. I think you probably live in South Philly if I'm catching your vibe. He's a Philly fan. He's a big believer in Wentz, so I support you, brother. Adam McNanny says kielbasa with you, Cage at the National.
I mean, Adam, I'm going to tell you to keep your kielbasa to yourself, but we can hang out, definitely, no problem. Kielbasa.
Go ahead. I apologize.
So is it something to have, in Chicago? Yeah, right. I mean, brats, all kinds of sausage. Adam is part of the LukaNation Fit family, so I would have my kielbasa maybe with some sauerkraut, no bun, because I'm trying to cut the carbs out. But yes, I mean, there's another question about the National. Andrew and we've been talking about this, and where the pendulum is swinging towards attendance, which is going to be fun.
It would be cool if we could, find a room there. We could do like a Q&A with some of our community members right there live on the air, and we'll air it on YouTube. It'll be kind of fun.
Yep.
Oh, Kyle. Nice. The Nemo question was mine. Thanks for answering. Our pleasure. Adam McNanny says he has to decide to cut the losses thing with Mike Soroka. Going to take a big L.
He seems to be injury prone, Mike Soroka now. Abe Froman, the sausage king of Chicago. I completely missed it with the kielbasa. But you're right. It is a type of sausage. 100%. There you go. My bad.
Agreed. Wentz could be a flip. And that offensive line for the Colts is stellar. Ed the Sun. Feel like this LeBron market about to go crazy with Space Jam 2. I don't know if you've ever seen LeBron act, but it's
So Ed the Sun, I love you. Maybe you have a lot of LeBron cards, but I think the Space Jam stuff is going to be nothing. First of all, a lot of the world is still kind of, not ready to go to movie theaters because they were gross before COVID. That's one. People are going, but two, that it's on HBO Max, Space Jam, so it's going to be released, right on your TV screen. So my son, who normally would probably tell me I gotta go see it, he's got toys, he's got cereal. I think I bought him fruit snacks. Space Jam. I don't think it moves the needle for card collecting LeBron at all. I've seen a lot of the usual suspects come out and defend LeBron pricing in a silly way. I've seen a lot of sell me your LeBrons at $10,000. Okay, well, no one's selling you a LeBron at $10,000. So we know you're not actually trying to buy LeBron, right? You're just now telling the world that they should buy LeBron. You think
it's like an artificial floor they're setting?
Yeah, it's that institutional investment, that wall of shares that's there. Oh, there's so many people ready to buy at 10, so I better buy it at 12.5. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that the LeBron market in and of itself is going to be flying anytime soon. Not to mention, I mean, did he exactly have a great postseason? I mean, he didn't really. I mean, but they're still playing, and he's not, right? And he doesn't do himself any favors. Love LeBron, one of the GOATs. Don't at me. He's almost as good as Michael Porter Jr., yada, yada, yada. I understand. But here we go. He can't get out of his own way. Why does he got to comment about injuries? Right? Last year, when the bubble worked in his favor, he wasn't saying anything about people being injured then, right? But now, all of a sudden, when his team kind of sucked and they were banking on Kyle Kuzma to actually hit some shots, all of a sudden it's injuries and problems. I don't know how it rubs you, man, but it rubs my kielbasa the wrong way. Thank you, Adam McNamara.
You're dumb. SNK Cards asks, also, I've been watching Nick Castellanos market for weeks and can't believe how cheap some of his Topps Chrome rookies and autos are selling for. The guy mashes. So good buying opportunity.
Who is the Nick Castellanos guy in our group? Is it DJ?
I think it's DJ. DJ's been right about a lot of plays.
He has. So DJ Nicholson, I think it's IA Cards on Twitter. Mm-hmm. I mean, last year when I was talking about Tatis, and I know Tatis is great, he would come in with the Casti Bomb update. And you look at Castellanos' cards and you're like, oh, look at his stats. And you're like, damn, this MVP watch for this guy. And here's SNK Cards. Let me tell you something. Nick Castellanos, I'm going to do something at the end of the year. cardboard relevant. We'll have to bring the segment back. It might be like a VIP just for people who ask questions here. Maybe we'll do some cardboard relevant as part of Coffee with Cage instead of doing it every day. Andrew yelled at me. He may be in the running for end of year awards for cardboard irrelevant player of the year. Like Nick Castellanos, for whatever reason, he falls in that bucket. He falls in that category of
He's
guys.
not really likable, right? Like it's that likability. Is that it?
I mean, where does he play? I mean, where did he move to the Reds? And before that, he was on Detroit, I think. Right? So not exactly, places you go to have baseball notoriety. Right? I think I'm right with his teams. See, and that should tell you all you need to know, that this guy is mashing, and I'm not even 1,000% sure. I'm like 99.8% sure, like Ivory sure, 99.44% sure that I'm right about his teams. But he's not in big market. His teams never really contend for end of year, winning a trophy, winning a championship, nothing like that. And he's great. And he's one of many players in baseball that are going to have great stats at the end of the year, but just nobody seems to care.
Cage, people loved your LeBron comment, apparently.
LeBron. Well, it is what it is. They're laughing. Well, because he's almost as good as Michael Porter Jesus. That's what it is. LeBron.
All right. Do we have any more questions? I think we might have one more. People want to get into the groups.
Cool. We'll definitely get every single one. It's market based on him. The one concern with Wander Franco is his market too. You're right. So we're talking about Nick Castellanos, Dave. Dave, you've heard about Casty Bombs in our group. Dave was in our group, the group that Andrew and I met in, and you're right. I mean, Wander Franco's market is definitely a difficult thing for him too, Tampa. But the difference is Tampa's leading their division. And Tampa has been a playoff team for the last couple of years, and Tampa will play meaningful games, even though their regular games are not, nationally televised. They'll play meaningful games in October, and if Wander Franco is playing meaningful games in October, you saw what that did to Juan Soto when the Nationals were in the World Series, and he was playing and doing what he needed to do. And you'll see what it'll do for Tatis as they play. You saw what it'll do for the Dodgers guys. So playing meaningful games. Even though you're right that Wander Franco and Tampa Bay is not there, he'll have some playoff games now as a rookie, and that will do wonders for him.
Tampa Bay is an insane sports city right now in America. I think we're not even giving it any credit. Tampa Bay Lightning, right? They dominate year over year. Bucks just won a Super Bowl, and you have the Rays, who are incredible. Guys, I want to say, before this, yesterday I had a wedding, got home late. This whole week's been nonstop in travel. When we jump on here on the YouTube live and spend Sundays together, I really enjoy it. I kind of get a little energy from the community. You guys, putting your comments in, means a lot to me. It means a lot to you too, Cage. And I appreciate it, because I was a little sleepy before this, and now I feel energized.
That's it, man. You got your caffeine. You got your coffee with Cage. A little shot in the arm.
Last question, and this is for a PSA 10 snob like Mr. Cage here, okay? This is going to be fun. Let me get this off the board and sing. All right, so ready? Drake's PCS. You often hear buy the card, not the grade. Yet many collections only consist of PSA 10s. Is this a case of saying one thing and doing another?
Whew. Yes and no. Right? So if I could buy a 10, I'm buying a 10. If I have the option of buying a beautiful looking 9 that looks about the same as a 10, and the 10 is, more money, I'm still buying the 10, right? Sure, that phrase, buy the card, not the holder, it does apply to cards that look obviously misgraded, right? I think it also applies to cards in the same grade level. Not every 10 is the same. There are reasons why in the same auction, Michael Jordan 86 Fleer PSA 10, one will sell for more than the other. And that's because somebody's paying a premium for the nice looking card. It's why PWCC is able to put their PWCC A, E, S, whatever it is, rankings at the end, because not every 5, 6, or 7 is the same. I think it also applies when you're looking at buy the card, not the holder. There are PSA 4s that are significantly off center, especially in Adam Plastic Vintage. So that's what we're talking about now. So cards like Bill Russell rookie and Will Chamberlain rookie come to mind exactly, right? There are PSA 4s that I would never touch There are PSA 6s I would never touch, but there are PSA 4s that I would. You know what I mean? So I've seen 6s that are so off center, but they're real nice looking in it, but the eye appeal is just not there. Whereas a 4 may have worse corners, right? And a little more surface issues. But if it's a centered card, I think I'd rather have the 4 than that 6. That's, I think, really what we're talking about with the buy the card, not the holder. And for modern, sure, it applies, right? Don't be blind that it's a PSA 10. There are Prism cards that were graded 2 years ago, 2018 Prisms, that you could see they're off center, and they still got a 10. Yeah. Like, if you have a choice, right, buy one that's centered.
100%. That applied to the Luka Silver, by the way.
100%.
Luka Silvers were. I was like, how did this get a 10?
Yep.
Anthony, I agree. Love this to catch the Sunday lives.
Thanks, Anthony.
Brown, I always listen to your episodes, but these on here live are way better.
Thanks, Kyle.
Ed the Sun.
First time catching live. Ed, thank you, man. Listen, and we appreciate you listening to us for months. I don't know if Ed the Sun's in any of our groups. Come on in, join. Sean Castellanos' question, he's definitely right about his market and his team. Interesting, he has an opt-out after this year. You know what? By the way, Sean, people who get on someone like Castellanos now may be the smart ones, because there is one thing that could take him out of that cardboard irrelevant and into cardboard relevant. Maybe the Yankees sign him. You know what I mean? Maybe the Red Sox sign him. Maybe the Dodgers sign him. Maybe maybe he joins the Padres and wins 6 championships over the next 10 years, right? You never know. And he has an opt-out after this year. If he opts out and then does what he's doing now for one of those teams, then you are one of the smartest people in the world for getting on his cards when people like me were telling you don't buy him because he's irrelevant. Because now what you've done, it's very smart, right? So when you say watch the games, what you've done is you've done a little more research. You've gone in on your guy and you said, you know what, there's a potential here for real gains if he leaves and goes to another team. So that's great. Do your research, do your homework, and it looks like Sean has. Dark horse MVP pick for NFL next year. Carson Wentz, right, Anthony? No, go ahead, man. You got pick one, and I'll give one also.
Dark horse MVP. Tom Brady.
That's not a dark horse.
It's laughable, but it would actually. I think it's going to sink in, and you're going to realize that he doesn't get actually the credit that he deserves when it comes to regular season awards.
A couple of dark horse MVPs, right? So I'll give you 2, right? 2. 1, Jonathan Taylor, running back for the Colts. Why? Because anyone not a quarterback is a dark horse candidate. And
you don't think Tom Brady was a good dark horse?
No, yes, but Tom Brady is the greatest player to ever play. To call him a dark horse for any award is a difficult thing. But you're right. He's good, but he doesn't put up the MVP numbers. He's not putting up Rodgers numbers. Not doing. So I get where you're coming from, right? So I think Jonathan Taylor can have 2,000 yards rushing and lead the Colts to to the postseason, and and that team, they seem to be always 1 or 2 plays away from winning the division, you name it. I think if he puts up huge numbers this year, it's a dark horse. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying bet on it, but you asked for a dark horse. And here's another one. You ready? Jameis Winston, real dark horse, right? The guy's never really had the ability to play a full season with a full team, with a good coach, with a crazy offense around him and the whole deal. And he's getting an opportunity. Am I buying his cards personally? No. So that should tell you how much I believe in the play. But you asked for a dark horse candidate. He has everything set up around him. He's got the running backs around him. He's got the wide receivers around him. He's got an opportunistic defense around him. He's got a franchise that always seems to win. So if he was ever going to put it together the way that he was supposed to put it together, this would be the year. And everybody loves a comeback story, right?
I'll give you guys a preview to my play tomorrow. Stafford, MVP through first 8 games.
Hall of Famer.
You want to answer people's question they ask? What's your dude? I was thinking. Here I go.
Jameis, as you were talking about Jonathan Taylor as a Saints fan, thing that hurts if Mike Thomas trade rumors are true. Listen, we'll see. Cardboard cracker. I mean, you never know what's going to happen with this stuff. There's a lot of demands for trades that a lot of them fizzle. What do I have against cold brew? I'm not really a coffee drinker. Cardboard cracker. I mean, I know this is coffee with cage. I do buy coffee pretty often. You know, my wife's a coffee drinker, and it's always a hot coffee. But yeah, cold brew. It seems like if you're gonna drink coffee, you know, have the cojones to drink the real thing. You know, don't have this like chilled down, watered down, iced down version of the real thing. You want the real thing? You get it here. Coffee with Cage, LukaNation Network. Nowhere else. You get a watered down version that's icy cold everywhere else.
Love you.
I think you can end it at that. That's what, you know, if I had a microphone, it would have already fell out of my hand. Bye, everybody. We love you.